The visit of a stranger. I had noticed that Poirot was becoming increasingly discontented and restless. Lately, no interesting cases had come our way, nothing that would allow my friend to exercise his keen mind and extraordinary powers of deduction. That morning, he pushed aside his newspaper with an impatient exclamation, "Oof!" which sounded more like the hiss of a cat. "They are afraid of me, Hastings. These English criminals of yours are terrified of me. When a cat is near, the mouse does not reach for the cheese. I imagine that, for the most part, they are not even aware of your existence," I replied with a laugh. Poirot looked at me reproachfully. He constantly imagines that the whole world talks and thinks of nothing but him. True, he had certainly made a name for himself in London, but it was doubtful that his name struck terror into the hearts of the underworld. "What do you say about that daylight robbery of the Bond Street jewelry shop a few days ago?" I asked. "A clever piece of work," Poirot remarked approvingly, though not to my taste. "But then, to each his own. A man smashes the plate glass window of a jeweler's with the heavy head of a cane and scoops up all the gems. Honorable citizens seize him at once. The police arrive. The criminal is caught red-handed. The jewels are found upon him. He is taken to the station, and only then is it discovered that the jewels are fakes. The real ones he had passed to an accomplice, one of the aforementioned honorable citizens. Naturally, he will go to prison, but when he comes out, a tidy sum will be waiting for him. Yes, not badly conceived, but I would have thought of something better. Sometimes, Hastings, I regret my moral principles. It would be so pleasant for a change to break the law. Don't lose heart, Poirot. You know that in your field, you are the unsurpassed professional. Yes, but what is new in this field of mine? I picked up a newspaper. Here, for example, the mysterious death of an Englishman in Holland, I said. The newspapers always write such things, and later it turns out he simply ate some spoiled fish and died of perfectly natural causes. "Tiens," cried Poirot, looking out the window. "Down there, on the street, the one they call the veiled lady in the novels. She is coming up the steps. She is ringing the bell. She is coming to see us. It must be an interesting case. When a girl is so young and beautiful, she does not hide her face without a serious reason." A minute later, the guest was entering the room. As Poirot had said, her face was indeed hidden by a veil. It was impossible to discern her features until she raised the veil of black Spanish lace. Then I saw that Poirot's intuition had not failed him this time. The lady was extraordinarily beautiful, with lovely blonde hair and large blue eyes. From the expensive simplicity of her costume, I immediately concluded that she belonged to the upper echelons of society. "Monsieur Poirot," the lady began in a soft, melodious voice, "I am in trouble. I do not dare hope that you can help me, but I have heard that you work such wonders. You are quite literally my last hope. I have come to ask you to perform the impossible." "The impossible always attracts me," said Poirot. "Pray, mademoiselle, continue." Our lovely guest hesitated. "You must be frank with me," Poirot added, "and you must not leave me in ignorance on any point." "I will trust you," the girl said suddenly. "Have you heard of Lady Millicent Castlevaughn?" I glanced at her with curiosity. The announcement of Lady Millicent's engagement to the young Duke of Southshire had appeared in the papers only a few days prior. As far as I knew, Lady Millicent was the fifth daughter of an impoverished Irish peer, and the Duke of Southshire was one of the most eligible bachelors in England. "I am Lady Millicent," the girl continued. "Perhaps you have read of my engagement. I should have been the happiest girl in the world, but oh, Monsieur Poirot, I am in terrible trouble. This man, A dreadful man named Lavington. I don't even know how to tell you. I wrote a letter. I was only 16 then, and it? A letter you wrote to this Mr. Lavington? Oh no, not to him. To a young soldier. I was in love with him. He was killed in the war. I understand, Poirot said gently. It was a foolish letter, an indiscreet letter, but believe me, nothing more. But there were phrases that could be interpreted in two ways. I see, said Poirot. And this letter fell into the hands of Mr. Lavington? Yes, and he threatens that if I do not pay him a huge sum, which I cannot afford, he will send the letter to the Duke. The dirty scoundrel! I exclaimed. I beg your pardon, Lady Millicent. And would it not be wiser to confess everything to your future husband? I fear not, Monsieur Poirot. The Duke is a very peculiar man. He is jealous and suspicious and inclined to believe the worst. I might as well simply break off the engagement. Is that so? Heavens! Poirot remarked with a very expressive grimace. And what is it you want of me, milady? I thought that perhaps I could ask Mr. Lavington to meet with you. I will tell him that you are authorized to negotiate on my behalf. Perhaps you can succeed in softening his demands. What sum are we talking about? 20,000 pounds. It is impossible. I did not know if I could find even 1,000. Doubtless, with the wedding approaching, you could borrow a considerable amount. Yet I doubt you could raise even half of that sum. Besides, eh bien, I cannot bear the thought of you having to pay. No, the subtle mind of Hercule Poirot shall protect you from your enemies. Send this Mr. Lavington to me. Is there any hope that he will bring the letter with him? The girl shook her head. I think not. He is very cautious. I presume there is no doubt that he actually has the letter? He showed it to me when I went to his house. You went to his house? That was very imprudent, milady. Is that so? I was so distraught, she murmured. I had hoped my pleas might move him. Ooh la la! One does not move a man like Lavington with pleas. Poirot exclaimed. He will only be glad to see how much value you place upon this letter. Where does he live, this remarkable gentleman? At Buena Vista, Wimbledon. I went there once. It was already quite dark. Poirot sighed heavily. I told Lavington that it would end with me going to the police, she continued, but he only laughed in that vile, mocking way of his. If it pleases you, my dear Lady Millicent, by all means report it, he said. Yes, it is hardly a matter for the police, Poirot muttered. But I think you will be more prudent, Lavington went on. Look, here is your letter. It is inside this Chinese puzzle box. He held it out so I could see. I tried to snatch it, but Lavington was too quick. With a revolting smirk, he folded it and put it back in the box. It will be perfectly safe here, I assure you, he said, and the box itself will be kept in a hiding place so ingenious that you will never find it. I looked at a small safe built into the wall, but Lavington only laughed and shook his head. I have a better safe than that, he said. Oh, he was loathsome. Monsieur Poirot, do you think you can help me? Trust in Papa Poirot. I shall find a way. While Poirot gallantly escorted our beautiful visitor down the stairs, I reflected that his assurances were all well and good, but the case seemed exceedingly difficult. I said as much to Poirot when he returned. He nodded ruefully. Yes, the solution does not exactly lie on the surface. This Monsieur Lavington has the situation well in hand. At this moment, I do not see how he can be outplayed. As agreed, Mr. Lavington visited us immediately after lunch. Lady Millicent was right. He was an utterly repulsive individual. I even felt a twitching in my leg. So strong was the urge to kick him down the stairs. His tone was overbearing and threatening. To Poirot's attempts to shame him, he merely smirked, clearly feeling himself master of the situation. I could not shake the feeling that Poirot was not in his usual form today. He looked discouraged and dejected. "Well, gentlemen," Lavington said, picking up his hat, "I see no point in continuing this chat. Here is my final word. I'll give Lady Millicent a discount, since she's so pretty." His gaze turned briefly and foully predatory. "Let us say 18,000. I'm leaving for Paris today to settle some business. I shall return on Tuesday. If I do not have the money by that evening, the letter goes to the Duke. And don't tell me she can't afford it. Many gentlemen among her friends will be happy to serve such a charming woman with a loan, provided, of course, she behaves accordingly." The blood rushed to my face, and I stepped forward, but Lavington, having finished his tirade, slipped out of the room. "Good heavens!" I cried. "We must do something. It seems, Poirot, that you are ready to accept defeat. You have a wonderful heart, my friend, but you do not know how to use your brains." I had not the slightest desire to display my capabilities to Mr. Lavington. The more faint-hearted he thinks me, the better. But why? How strange it is, Poirot mused, that I expressed a wish to break the law just before Lady Millicent arrived. "You intend to search the house while Lavington is away?" I asked, astonished. "Sometimes, Hastings, you are quite quick off the mark. And what if he takes the letter with him?" Poirot shook his head. "Unlikely. Clearly, he has some hiding place in the house that he considers very secure." "When do we go into action?" "Tomorrow night. We shall leave here at 11 o'clock. At the appointed time, I was ready. I wore a dark suit and a dark felt hat. Poirot smiled kindly. "I see you are entering into the spirit of the role," he remarked. "Come, we shall take the Underground to Wimbledon. Shouldn't we take something with us? Tools to break down the door." "My dear Hastings, Hercule Poirot does not recognize such methods." Having received this answer, I asked no more, but I was burning with curiosity. It was midnight when we entered the small garden of Buona Vista. The house was silent and dark. Poirot went straight to the back, noiselessly raised a window sash, and beckoned me inside. "How did you know the window would be open?" I whispered, for it seemed almost supernatural. "Because I filed through the catch of the window this morning." "What?" But yes, it was very simple. I rang the bell, presented a fictitious business card and one of Inspector Japp's cards. I said I had been sent by Scotland Yard to install an alarm system Mr. Lavington had requested in his absence. The housekeeper was delighted. "It seems there were 2 attempted burglaries recently. Clearly, our idea occurred to other victims of this blackmailer, though nothing of value was taken. I inspected all the windows, did what was necessary, and forbade the servants to touch the windows until tomorrow morning, explaining that the frames were connected to the alarm system. Then I departed as if nothing had happened. Truly, Poirot, you are unique. Mon ami, you exaggerate. Now to work. The servants are sleeping upstairs, so we are unlikely to disturb them. I suppose the safe is hidden in one of the walls." "A safe? Nonsense. There is no safe. Mr. Lavington is a clever man. You will see. He has hidden the letter in a much more reliable place. A safe is the first place anyone looks." We began a thorough search, but several hours later we had found nothing. Poirot's face showed signs of anger and frustration. "Ah, sapristi! Shall Hercule Poirot be defeated? Never. Let us think. Let us reflect. Let us discuss. Let us at last make the little gray cells work as they should." For a moment he fell silent, frowning deeply. Then those well-familiar green lights began to dance in his eyes. "What a fool I am! The kitchen! The kitchen!" I cried. "But that is impossible. The servants are there. Precisely. That is exactly what 9 people out of 10 would say. And for that very reason, the kitchen is the ideal place for a cache. It is full of all sorts of utensils. Come, follow me to the kitchen. I followed him, though I remained highly skeptical. I watched as Poirot immersed himself in the contents of the bread bins, tapped on saucepans, and finally stuck his head into the gas oven. Soon, I grew weary of it all and retreated to the study. I was convinced that there, and only there, would we find the hiding place. I continued my search for a few more minutes. Then, realizing it was 4:15 and dawn would soon break, I returned to the kitchen. To my utter astonishment, Poirot was standing knee-deep in the coal bunker, dreadfully staining his light-colored suit. He made a wry face. "Oh yes, my friend, this is certainly not in my nature, but what can one do? Lavington didn't bury it in the coal, surely? If you would take the trouble to look here, you would see that I am not examining the coal at all." Then I saw that several logs were lying on the floor behind the coal bunker. Poirot was deftly picking them up and inspecting them from every angle. Suddenly, he let out a sharp cry. "Your knife, Hastings!" I handed him the knife. He plunged it into a heavy log, and unexpectedly, it split into 2 pieces. It appeared the log had been neatly sawn in half, with a hollowed-out center. From his cavity, Poirot extracted a small wooden box. "Cleverly thought out," I exclaimed, stunned. "Quiet, Hastings! Do not shout so. Come, we must leave before it gets light." Slipping the box into his pocket, he nimbly hopped out of the bunker and brushed off his suit. Leaving the house through the same window, we walked briskly toward London. But what a strange place for a hiding place! I marveled. Anyone could have burned that log. In July, Hastings? Besides, it lay beneath a pile of other logs. It is a very ingenious cache. Ah, here's a taxi. Now, home. A bath and a refreshing sleep await us. After the night's excitement, I slept late. When I finally came down to the sitting room at nearly 1 o'clock, I was greeted by an extraordinary sight. Poirot sat reclining in his chair, with the box open before him, calmly reading that very letter. She is right, this Lady Millicent. The Duke would never have forgiven such a letter. It contains such extravagant expressions of love as I have never before encountered. Really, Poirot, I protested. I don't think you should be reading that letter. It simply isn't done. And yet, Hercule Poirot does it, my friend replied, unperturbed. "And one more thing," I said. "I think you broke the rules of the game by presenting Japp's official card. But I was not playing any games, Hastings. I was investigating a case." I shrugged. It was useless to argue with such a worldview. "Steps on the stairs," said Poirot. "That must be Lady Millicent." The anxiety and sorrow on our beautiful client's face vanished instantly when she saw the box and the letter, which Poirot immediately handed to her. "Oh, Monsieur Poirot, you are simply magnificent. How did you manage it?" "By somewhat illegal means, milady. However, I do not think Mr. Lavington will appeal to the authorities. This is your letter, is it not?" She scanned the letter quickly. "Yes." "Oh, how can I thank you? You are truly a wizard. Where is it hidden?" Poirot explained it to her. "How perceptive you are." She glanced at the box. "I shall take it as a souvenir. I had hoped, milady, that you would allow me to keep it, also as a souvenir. I hope to send you a much better souvenir on my wedding day. I promise you will not find me ungrateful, Monsieur Poirot. The happiness of serving you means much more to me than a check. So, with your permission, I shall keep the box." "Oh no, Monsieur Poirot, it must be mine," she cried with a laugh. The girl reached out, but Poirot was quicker. He covered the little box with his hand. I think not. His tone had changed. What do you mean? Her voice suddenly became sharp and unpleasant. In any case, allow me to examine its contents. You may have noticed it looks much larger than it actually is. It gives the impression of a false bottom. He made a swift, elusive movement, and a second later, for large shimmering stones and two milky white pearls lay in his palm. One might assume these are the jewels stolen from Bond Street a few days ago, Poirot remarked, but Jap will be able to say for certain. To my great amazement, Jap himself stepped out of Poirot's bedroom. An old friend of yours, I believe, Poirot said in his former suave tone. Good Lord, nipped at last, cried Lady Millicent. Her manners changed drastically. Clever, you old devil. She looked at Poirot with undisguised admiration. Well, Gertie, old girl, Jap said, I think the game is up this time. To think we'd meet again so soon. We've already picked up your accomplice, the one who came here calling himself Lavington. As for the real Lavington, or Crocker, or Reed, or whatever his name is, I'd like to know which of your gang knifed him in Holland the other day. Thought he took the jewels with him, didn't you? Well, he didn't. He fooled you quite neatly, hid them in his own house. You tried to find them there, of course, but failed, so you brought Poirot into the business. Fond of your own voice, aren't you? Asked the former Lady Millicent. Come on, then. I'll go quietly. But you can't deny I played the lady well. The manners and all that. It was all a matter of the shoes, Poirot remarked dreamily. I was still in shock and could not utter a word. I have my observations regarding the habits of your English society, and I have learned that a lady by birth, always chooses her shoes with great care. She may be poorly dressed, but as for the shoes, well, our Lady Millicent had a fashionable, expensive dress and cheap shoes. It was calculated that you and I, Hastings, would likely never have seen the real Lady Millicent. She was rarely in London, and this woman undoubtedly bore a certain resemblance to her, so all should have gone smoothly. But first, I had my suspicions because of the shoes, and then because of this whole story of the letter. And the veil was a bit melodramatic, eh? The Chinese box with the so-called compromising letter was likely known to the whole gang, but the log as a hiding place was the personal invention of the late Lavington. By the way, Hastings, I hope you will no longer wound my feelings as you did yesterday by saying the criminal world is unaware of my existence. You see, they even turn to me for help when they cannot manage on their own.